Okay, I thought we would get this meeting is now recording, but I don't see that we do.
Well, it's being recording on the spot.
Okay, I thought we would get this meeting is now recording, but I don't see that we do.
Well, it's being recording on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're the host, I don't think it does that to you. It does it to everybody else.
Okay. Well, I don't think we're going to have anybody else except that when I went to California for the Class 10 conference, I obviously saw Mark, who is our Proterra account representative. He is also the one that presented to us, gosh, how many years ago? Maybe 2 years ago at City Hall. If you guys remember that. I think he was zoomed in then. We were meeting at City Hall at 9 years ago. Long time ago. Anyway, he sent me an email today about something else, and I said, hey, we have a board meeting tonight if you want to just pop in and say hello to the board again. And so he will join us either, I said 5:45 or 6 would be good, because I figured we'll be getting our plates right now. And Chris cannot make it tonight, right?
Yeah, he was giving us some in, but he said he had, it was like, yeah, he zoomed in now because he has to pay it 6, but
Okay.
Okay. So that's Christina.
Christina is very ill, so I have an update from her. That rounds us out. We didn't hear from the
Not Teresa.
Christina, yeah, pretty much does the in-person stuff now. Teresa still makes the final decisions behind the scenes, but Christina is. She's kind of handed it off. Which, you know what, I will, while we wait for the kebabs, I'll give the update that we did. I did actually meet with Teresa and Christina, and we are all on board to sign a contract with MV. We're going to go ahead and sign for another 1.5 years so that we don't have to keep doing this negotiation process. And in the meantime, if we get some funding that we are looking for, we may have to renegotiate anyway, because it's in our contract that if we add more than a certain percentage, I think it's 15%, or take away 15%, we have to renegotiate. So it was kind of a, why not sign the contract, keep things running smoothly, not get the drivers worried about, do they have a new boss? Do they have a new company? Do they lose their, they go through a lot every time you change contractors. So I really didn't want to do that if we could at all not do that. So exciting news is we will have a contractor and we will not be negotiating for months and months anymore.
Good for you.
Yeah, it was really good. And the drivers are
That'll
happy.
take us then through.
It'll take us to,
February of 24.
Yes. So our current contract is up November. So it'll take us through June of 2024 without having to worry about contracting. We are still short drivers, as is everybody everywhere. But actually, once we did put the pay increases in place in May, the end of May, we got 3 or 4 new drivers on board. And I know that they have 2 applicants in what they call qualifications, right? So fingers crossed. We did have somebody put in their 2-week notice that drives Mount Hood Express. So, one comes, one goes.
How long does it take before a new driver can actually get out? I'm assuming he's going through some training before the.
Yeah, it's about 80 hours of training. And they try to do that in 2 weeks, but sometimes it takes longer than that, especially. So Julie, who's our road supervisor, does that training. And if we're short drivers, she's driving. And so they do the classroom training as much as they can, but it can take a little while if she, her schedule's really full.
They are trying to work back roads and things.
Yeah, it's not easy. And some of the training too is not them driving. So if her schedule's full, they send them out with other drivers who, like Rhonda, who has been here for a very long time and knows the ropes and can do the training. Just not with them behind the wheel. So 2 weeks is the short answer. Yeah, I will say though, a lot of what the past 3 or 4 don't have CDLs. So it's several weeks of training and then they go for the CDL test and so on and so. But MV does pay for them to get their CDL, which is very expensive nowadays. Last February, the cost of a CDL went up by like $10,000. And only federally certified trainers can do it and blah, blah, blah. So we are very lucky that they are picking up that cost for the drivers. And I mean, what a great benefit to that person who got a professional driver's license. So
Unbelievable 10,000.
right? It went up to yeah. I feel like I had another announcement, but I don't know what it would have been. So I just wait. I don't want to add. So maybe what we'll do in the meantime is I do have, I was going to show this later and we would have gotten there, but we might as well just do it now. This is, so the federal grant that we applied for electric buses wants you to partner. They really like agencies who come in with a partner that Gillig or Proterra or whoever. So you already have your budget, you're already working collaboratively, you put your plan in together. We went in with Proterra, and the main reason we did is when we started this process, Gillig didn't have an electric bus yet. BYD buses were out but not running. And new flyer buses were kind of a new thing. And the only bus around that was electric and running was a Proterra that Wilsonville bought. They're all doing much better now. Lots of people are looking at Facebook. These buses aren't going to run. And they will have glitches, as anything does, right? But that is why we chose Proterra. It's because their battery technology is well beyond the other vendors. And as a matter of fact, the other vendors are now still building their bus, but by putting their batteries in it. So I asked them when I was at the conference, so are you going to continue to build buses? Because if everybody's putting your battery in their buses, it makes business sense that you would just become a battery. And it's like, as far as I know, we still will, but we'll see. So just so you can see what she looks like while we wait for our kebabs, and hopefully it will tell me if Mark jumps in. I will check. Yeah. And I probably should share my screen anyway, since this is getting recorded. Right, so we haven't even actually technically ordered it. So we have funding for 3. They have a letter of interest from us that says we intend to purchase these vehicles from you, is where we've gotten so far. We've talked, Umpqua Valley was also successful in Lono and Yamhill. So I know Umpqua and I are in agreement to go into the bus build together, because as Mark says, and I agree, the more buses that are the same that they build, the less mistakes they make, the more changes that have to happen, whether it's seats or where you put your USBs or whatever, then, you know, you're more likely on the assembly line to be like, oops, but that didn't get changed or whatever. So we are in agreement that we'll work with him to have the similar bus so he can have 5 or 6 built instead of 3 and 2. So yes, sort of. It takes 14 months for them to build it. Yeah, which is a lot sooner than I expected. But I want to make sure that we are ready. So we're kind of doing it in stages. He actually sent me something this morning. If you guys see that he pops on, let me know. He sent me something this morning about going ahead and purchasing the chargers, because they apparently have a longer lead time. And then, you know, we can have them installed, you know, as you know, PGE, we're in the middle of the fleet partner program. They're going to have to put in a new electric line to our bus barns. Public Works has decided to join us in this as well, because they will probably buy a few electric buses in the future. And we will get rebates through the rebate program at PGE. And so why would they not jump on that as well? Because we're gonna lead that charge with our buses. But anyway, so we can have the chargers here, have all of that construction done, have all of the infrastructure done, and then I want the buses to arrive. So the grant will be for 3 years. So within 3 years, they'll be here. But I'm hoping it's like the grant runs out June 30 and the bus gets here June 1, because I really want to be able to take our time getting it right. But that would mean, you know, my guess, especially with the supply chain, 14 months is probably about to be 24 months. So, but that gives us a year before we have to officially put in our order. I don't know that we'll wait that long, but okay. I'm going to share my screen, I think, maybe.
Here we go. For those who are online watching this later. Sound will be good.
Do it full screen too, Andy.
Oh, yeah, good idea. Let's see.
Hey, Mark.
Hello.
Thanks for jumping on and saying hi, putting your face in front of us again.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate the opportunity. Anytime I can work with a city in my home state, it makes me happy and makes me smile.
So we just got our meeting started and I was giving them a little bit of updates and we were actually, can you see my screen?
Oh yeah, you're watching the video, huh?
We actually are watching the video. Yeah.
Excellent.
Let's just watch the video and see when Mark jumps on. So, do you want me to finish the video and then you can just say a little bit about Proterra and a hello?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see.
You can do it in the bottom.
Ends with such a dramatic ending.
Very dramatic. Yeah, they definitely have a little bit of flair in the marketing department, that's for sure.
All right. All right, so thanks for jumping on again. I just wanted you to say hello, and if you could maybe give us your quickest pitch about Proterra.
Yeah, so I'll keep it pretty quick. You know, my name is Mark Hollenbeck. I'm the West Coast Regional Sales Director. I actually live in McMinnville, Oregon. So I am an Oregon native like you guys. And, you know, I have 3 children. They're all born here in Oregon. Very happy to be working with the city of Oregon. Right now, our only customer in the state is Wilsonville. So you'll be our second deployment. And then along with you guys will be Umpqua down in Roseburg. So I'm happy to we're working with some more agencies and cities in the state of Oregon. Proterra has been around for 14 years. We were the first to market for full battery electric buses. Proterra does not do anything else. We don't build diesel buses. We don't build CNG. We don't build diesel hybrid. All we do is battery electric. And what makes us different is not only that, but we're in our 5th generation of battery electric buses. So the city of Sandy is gonna benefit from 4 other versions of this bus leading up to now. We went from our first bus 11 years ago going 25 miles on a single charge to today going 250 to 350 miles on a single charge. So the technology is growing at a rapid rate, and we're really, really proud of our buses, our technology. We're the only OEM that is building our own battery packs. We're building our own buses, and we're building our own charging infrastructure. So we're a full turnkey solution to going fully battery electric and helping to save our planet. So that's basically our deal. We have 134 customers right now. You guys make 135, and we have over 30 million service miles now, which is about 28 million more than the closest OEM building battery electric buses. And yeah, that's it.
That's perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Well, do you guys have questions? I doubt you do, but you might. No. All right. We got a silent crowd. So I'm sure that as this process goes, we'll have questions. But
Yep.
tonight we just wanted to say hello and get you back in front of us. We were just saying, I think you gave us a presentation like 3 years ago, Mark.
Yeah, well, it's been almost 2 years ago. So I've only been at Proterra 2 years. So I think I gave my presentation to you guys about a month after I started. So yeah, this is a big deal for me, and I'm excited for it. And when we do deliver the buses, I look forward to having a ribbon cutting event, hopefully, and I can bring a whole bunch of. We have these little really cool mini buses, like this guy right here, and I'll bring a bunch of these so everyone can have a little bus, so everyone can have their own.
Yes, you have to send me a couple of those.
I will. I'll send you a box ahead of time, Andy, for sure.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, awesome. We'll hold you to it. So go ahead and put a bunch of those little buses aside.
I'll put them in the mail today.
All right, thanks for jumping on, Mark.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, I wanted to say that was also, I had forgotten until he said it, that was also one of the reasons that we really liked Proterra was at several of the conferences. I don't know if you guys went to the classes that were about like how to do electric buses, but everybody kept saying, if you can, make sure your charger is the same company as your bus, because otherwise you get well, it's not charging. Well, it's the charger's fault. No, it's the bus's fault. No, it's so when and you guys know that because it happens on cutaways, right? Where it's like, oh, that's Ford's fault. No, that's, whoever's fault. And so everything is theirs. So there is no, that's a different company that you have to go through. Our dinner is looking like it's arriving.
It's coming, there's a little bit more, we got chicken right now, and then there's some lamb coming for anybody that would like some lamb. Does anybody want to get started?
Yeah. I am going to put our meeting on a different screen. Oh, yeah. Of course.
This is
I don't know. Hummus?
Yeah.
Then you have your.
Sounds like it's an illness.
Burmese, can I get you some? Burmese, would you like a plate?
She's waiting for lamb.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, get that. Which one's hummus? And that one is.
It's just a dipping sauce, really.
Okay. Nobody needs to see us. They can still hear us, but they don't need to see us. Fill our plate.
Might make them want to join us.
Well, you know, I was actually gonna take a picture.
That'd be a good recruitment
So I
effort.
can say, join us. Sorry about that.
You're all right.
I can eat that entire. So while you guys do that, I'll tell you that I got to tour the factory while I was there.
That'd be fun.
That was, I was really impressed. The batteries, and they showed them in that video, but they, you know, they took us into this room that obviously is colder, temperature controlled, and these robots are building the batteries, and they take one little case that's like half of this, not even that big, and it has empty cases that almost are the size of like a shotgun shell,
Oh, wow.
and they're all together, and then the robot fills those, and then obviously does quality checks, and then they just keep making those and sticking them together until they have these huge 1,500-pound batteries. And there's like, it looks like a honeycomb on top that's like the connector piece, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and when it feels like it's gonna overheat, it'll pop off, and pop all the little ones around it off. But I mean, they take these, they're just, those buses are run by, you know, little AA batteries all put together and then put on the bottom of the bus. That's very cool.
How far will it go?
So the range of the bus that we are scheduled to purchase says 392, and I'll get to this a little bit tonight. I don't expect it to actually get 392 miles. I mean, there's a lot of things that'll impact it. If it's cold outside, if you're running your heaters, you know, there's a steep hills, right? So I think we'll probably be looking way down more like 300, but you know, if we get lucky and it's more than that, that's great. The one that you mean their factory?
No, you said, and Jenny, you were building, when you recharge.
Here. So we will upgrade the bus barns. So PGE will come out here and they we'll run a new line that can power the buses, and then we'll also have enough power if they add trucks. And actually, we're planning for the future, so it will be able to power every bus we run if we become all electric.
Recharging in Gresham or anything like that anymore.
It would be great if we could, and I have heard that in Gresham, they're gonna put the overhead chargers in, I'm not sure. And we will, we put it in the grant to have rails on top of the buses for that overhead charger, if either down the line we do it or they do it, because it's fairly inexpensive to put them on during the build than it would be trying to retrofit it. So on the top.
Oh,
Mhm.
interesting.
It will have rails on the top, yes, to charge if Gresham does go that route.
Never heard of it.
Or if we decided to do that at the transit center. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to learn and a lot happening. Yeah, it's a lot to learn.
Oh, it's all new, basically.
Yes. Yep. All new.
In your own car, you have to learn an awful lot.
Right. Yeah, I still don't know what my car is.
Where
I
do you
still,
go to
I
charge
still
it?
don't know. I charge it at home. Yeah, I charge it mostly at home. I have charged a couple times at Fred Meyer when I had felt like I really need to, but mostly I charge at home.
I knew there was a charging station at Uber at Walgreens.
Oh, yes, uh-huh.
Up this been for years.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think Walgreens has like the universal charger. Whereas I'm looking for Tesla chargers. What, my car? Well, I trickle charge at home, so I mean, if I opened my app, I could tell you what I've paid. But the last time I filled my tank because I was low at Fred Meyer, it was $17. It was $17. That was what they charged me. So they charge, when you charge at one of those chargers, they charge you whatever the average rate is in your area. Would you like to play? You're waiting for lamb. Do we have lamb yet?
Not ready yet. Do you want me to start with some of the other stuff first? You want some like rice?
Yeah.
No, and I don't want to do rice, but
Just for lamb, so I'll prep it.
Like I said, I haven't done a deep dive.
it all smells good, I'll tell you. See, I'm I just. I have to wait a couple of weeks before they.
Just a weird word.
Now wait, you've got two discs here. Are they the same? Oh my gosh. He was finding some for everybody. No kidding. I got the tahini thinking it was tzatziki without. Oh man, I'm running out of room. I know. And that salad, I just want the whole thing of it.
Just. It smells.
It's beautiful. I'm just, I'm a weirdo. I like this. My lettuce.
There's nothing on here. Are you one of those ones with scotch?
Like you girl, that mean, you know, that was me.
Right?
Look at you people though.
I told Mona we need to have them come in when we're.
Oh, yeah.
That chicken is absolutely perfect.
He does a great job. And don't forget dessert because it's really good.
You're not gonna want to come.
Oh, but I'll keep it there.
No, it's not. Don't mind it.
So it's 6 o'clock. Let's see if I can. All right. Go. So I mostly want to talk about electrification tonight, but I know that we kind of already did. I think I even said in my introduction slide, if you guys remember that, nope, I didn't, that the transit master plan identified that we would switch to an alternative fuel. And in the plan, it actually does even call out electric as a future option. So that is, of course, one of the reasons that we are looking at electric, but as all of you know, we're also looking at electric because that's the direction the state and the nation is trying to get transit to go. So that's where your grant funding is. And that's where we're expected to head. So I will say, well, I'll say it later. So we went into the application, partnered with Proterra and PGE. PGE also sent a partner letter on our behalf that they have worked with us, and they had come out a very long time ago before COVID, when I was really ready to go electric, and then COVID hit. And I was, so there I said it. So in our transit master plan, we did have a directive that when we could afford it to purchase electric buses. And if you read the plan, it does have a very long paragraph about how expensive electric buses are. And that would be one of the, probably possible holdups into going electric. And so the first thing we did was identify a route that we could use an electric bus on. There currently is not, well, they say that there is, and so maybe soon there will be, but other than very large buses, it's really hard to find a cutaway or anything smaller that can do the range that we need on an electric vehicle and that we can afford. The big buses can do it because they're so big, they can handle all those batteries. But when you get a smaller vehicle like a cutaway, it can't handle the weight of the battery, so your range is not very good. And as you know, we put a bunch of miles, no matter what route you choose in Sandy, we put a bunch of miles on them. So for us, it makes logical sense that the first route we would choose would be Gresham, right? It's our workhorse. It's what we have most of our miles on. It's what most of our users utilize. So we were looking for big buses. And then, as our transit master plan says, we're not going to do it until we can afford it or we can find funding for it. So we did that, right? We've got funding for 3. Yep. So I wish that I had a little, but now the fun part starts. And this is why we canceled our meeting and moved it. And thank you for graciously allowing me to do that. Mark actually, in a meeting, I said to Mark, hey, how important is this zero emission bus conference? If I went, would I learn a lot? He said, is it too much cost for your agency? And I said, well, it's not even just the cost, but just being out of the office. And so he sent a free pass. So it was like $1,000-something conference that he graciously sent me a free pass. So at the last minute, I was like, I can't not do that. I'm out. You two, especially you, it was in Anaheim. And by the time I signed up, all of the hotels were full that, for the hotel booking. So I booked myself through Expedia in this little tiny Best Western. And I was thinking and it was very inexpensive compared to what the other ones were. And I was like, this is going to be interesting where I'm staying, but it says it's right by conference, says it's 0.2 miles. Well, it turns out it was across the street from Disneyland. Yeah, so it was very interesting. I didn't expect all the ears and the costumes and all of that on the street every day. And the first night, again, I'm thinking I'm in this big city in California. I didn't pay very much for this hotel, and I hear boom, boom, boom while I'm watching House of Dragon. And I immediately thought, okay, so the dumb blonde move would be to look out the window. And then I hear like even bigger booms, and I'm like, no, it's fireworks, because Disneyland does fireworks at night. So anyway, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going back to House of Dragons. But anyway, so I went to a conference. I learned a lot. I went for these things right here because this is a lot. And it's a lot for us that you guys are going to hear about every time we meet for probably the next 3 years. So get ready. And there will be decisions. Come on in, Risk. This is our, did you go to the parking lot?
He must have. He's got stuff still on the grill.
Okay. I want to make sure that we let him know how much we appreciate his cooking for us. Right? So, great. So infrastructure, you guys know we're working with PGE already. To be honest, after going to that class, I found that I constantly in my notes was like, bring this back to PGE. Because I've gone into it with like really relying on PGE to tell me what I need, and they've been great about it. But there are also things that I learned last week that I need to make sure that PGE is aware of, just like where do the chargers go? Can we do them outside? Can we do them inside? The chargers are bigger than I expected them to be. I'll show you a picture later. Those kinds of questions for PGE. How will the rebates work? You know, we need to schedule them so that we're charging on the off-peak hours and getting an off-peak price. All of those questions. And this conference actually did a great job of, you know, there were a lot of people there, not just the vendors, but a lot of people who are already electric. And this also, there was quite a bit about hydrogen fuel. I will tell you that's the up and coming. So but we're gonna not look there yet. So obviously with infrastructure, we need to work on the chargers. We need to make sure we get it right with PGE. Then there's the vehicle procurement that comes along with its own, you know, back to, we get the charge, you know, at what process do we get the chargers? How many chargers do we need per bus? There's a lot of stuff that comes along. As you can see, my arrows kind of go everywhere because so many things overlap, right? So the Sandy Operations Center, and let's see. Thank you. This is, oh, I see, I wrote it out for you all of why we chose the Gresham route, but I already said it. But this is important. So we have 4 gilligs that we keep in rotation. 2 are out doing the route all day. 2 are back up, you know, for when the others go down or need to go get their lube oil filter, etc. For electric, you need 2 for every 1 bus is best practice because of the range that an electric bus gets versus diesel. So we are looking at possibly needing 8 buses instead of 4 buses. So that's going to affect where do you park them? How do you plug them in? Hey, come in, come in, come in, come in. This is Rick. Thank you. Thank you. So appreciated. Now, obviously, what I'm going to try to do, since we have 3 buses, we have that brand new rebuilt bus. I intend to continue to rebuild our old vessels as diesel buses, because that turned out so well. So that we will continue to have that diesel backup, because it's important. I think we'll probably need it. We all probably know why. I don't need to spell it out for us. So I hope that we have a combination fleet, right? And keep it that way. But regardless, we're going to need more buses than we needed. And eventually this isn't going to be just a Gresham route. There's electric. Our trolley is also made as an electric trolley. So we'll probably try to move towards the electric trolleys next, etc. So
That'd be a perfect application.
the trolleys, yeah. So we got our funding. Just wanted to keep you guys as informed as possible. Electric buses, the base price is $829,000. Yay! And then you have to add about $84,000 onto that for the things like I mentioned that we would be adding the charge rails now. We'll add USB ports, and there's conversations to be had about, do we want them at each seat? Do we want just one in the front, one in the back? We can choose the duo power drivetrain, which we probably will, over a different drivetrains because of our environment, the winter package, warranties, diagnostic tools, etc. Your chargers are $75,000 each. Yep. And we're guessing it's about $20,000 to have the chargers installed. That is not the cost of PGE laying their new electric line. That's completely separate. However, just an FYI, the Fleet Partner Program at PGE is a new program. They think it'll only be around though for maybe another year or two, and it covers up to 90% of the cost of them refitting our organization. So luckily, they said it's probably a year when the funds run out. So luckily we're already in. We did also set some STIF money aside that we can use to offset this if we need it. In the federal grant, you had to add up how much your buses would be, and then the federal government has you add 0.05% for workforce development. So what that is training a mechanic to be an electric bus mechanic, sending trainers out to train your drivers how to drive electric buses, safety courses on how to take care of electric buses, etc. So, so our federal grant for 2 buses, the total for was 1.95963. Is that right? That's for, no, because that's for one. Yeah, I don't know where my total is. Yes.
How long will the buses last?
They have the same useful life as a diesel bus. Yeah, 12 years. So the good news is, in total, our 3 buses is going to cost $3.350 or $395. So we're looking at a $3 million project. The good news is we have 2.889383 in grants. That match is wrong over there. So our match is 318,512 plus the 142,5. So we'll spend out of a $3.3 million project. Hopefully, we'll spend on the buses and the chargers about $500,000. And then we'll probably spend 10% of whatever it costs for PGE to come out and do their relaying of the lines, etc. I don't know what that's going to be yet. I have a guess, and it's not anything we can't handle. So sticker shock, but also next meeting, because one of the reasons I went to California was I really, really, really want some good data on cost savings. From what I understand, these will pay for themselves very soon, because you have no lube oil and filters, you don't have any gas bills. They have regenerative stop braking, just like in a car, so your brake pads last forever. So there's a lot of savings down the road. And we'll be paying about $500,000. And this is something totally different. So now that I've run through that, I'll go back to this. And now you see, I do have a slide in here. Let me skip to it actually. Route planning is something that we're definitely going to have to do. You guys were asking earlier what the range. So the high end of what they report on this new bus is 329 miles on a charge. We aren't going to get that. Monday through Friday, as we already said, we're running 2 buses, and each bus is doing 372 a day. On Saturdays, we're running 1 bus doing 408. And on Sundays, we're running 1 doing 192. So obviously, and my math down here is because Monday through Friday, this is times 5. So obviously, what I think we're going to have to do, and we just talked to Alan and Stan, who's our maintenance coordinator, about it, is we're probably going to have to put our electric vehicles out during peak times and diesel out the other times, and then pull them into charge, because they aren't going to make it, all day. And I don't think you need to put them out at 5:30 in the morning or late at night when 1, your ridership is lower, and 2, your temperatures are obviously lower or higher in the summer. So we'll probably stick them out at peak, have our electric buses running the Gresham route at peak, and then pull them in and charge them, and that gives them plenty of time to be ready to go the next day. So we have 3 3 chargers covered in those grants, and each charger can charge 2 buses at a time. It's slower to do 2 at a time, but it's got 2 dispensers. So if we do add buses, we won't necessarily have to keep adding the chargers. I can't remember. That's a good question, and I can't remember. Yeah. Overnight is plenty. I know that. I want to say it's like 5 hours, but
So it must be right in that.
it's somewhere. I was thinking 5 to 7, but so it's probably somewhere in there, 5 to 6 range.
That's better than our wheelchair. Usually not.
Wow.
Well, your power wheelchair probably gets a trickle charge, right? And this gets like 180 kilowatts.
Yeah.
Hammered into it. So
That'd be fun.
yeah. So before I move on, do you guys have electric bus questions? And I'm sure that we will all have lots of questions eventually.
The car, they're wanting to get electric gas, they'll totally electric. They're going to do nothing.
Yeah, they're trying. And I will say that at the conference, a lot of what I was hearing was that hydrogen fuel cells is where they're really trying to go. But one thing I found interesting about that is, so in order to have, I'll just say, in order for us to go hydrogen, you have to find a hydrogen source and have it trucked in a liquid form. So it's like going CNG, right? Where you have to put that infrastructure in and you have to find a location nearby. So I'm not looking at that right now. That's kind of out of our need. And then also what I found really interesting, so part of the class They, do a very specific, this is how an electric bus is made and runs diagram. And one of the things that they pointed out is that the hydrogen fuel cell buses are an electric bus, but the fuel is on board. So you fill it with fuel and the hydrogen is what charges the batteries. So it's still an electric bus. It's just instead of using electricity at night to charge those batteries, you can do it while it's on the road using hydrogen. So to me, it's still an electric bus. So route planning, scheduling, chargers, PGE, the operations center, we're gonna have to figure out parking. I think you guys are aware that we have a grant to plan these 2 buildings. So we'll be looking at how quick can we get a maintenance bay up? Can we hire a mechanic that we can train ourselves to work on our electric buses, etc. So a lot of footwork in the very near future. Any questions? Hearing none.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yep.
Do you have any idea how large the reduction in efficiency is when the weather is on either side of kind of the median? When it's really, really cold.
I don't, but I will say that I don't know off the top of my head. They did talk about it when I was in California. I've got things written down. Batteries. One of the biggest factors in your range is it cold? They don't like cold.
Not so
So
much with the heat.
not so much with heat,
Okay.
but they don't like cold. But we aren't cold, right? We'll have like 2 weeks in February and we'll probably put our diesel buses out then anyway, would be my guess.
Yeah.
So I don't see our climate as being, we're not Minnesota, where they are northern electric buses. So one of the conversations that they had was, because another thing that's going to draw is if it's cold and you run your heaters. So places like Minnesota will have heaters on board that are run by diesel to keep their range on their batteries, or they'll just know that they're going to get less range from their batteries and plan. And I will also say one of the things in talking to PGE at a TriMet event I went to and talking to people at the conference is a lot of what makes this successful is planning your route around what your buses can actually do. So
Maybe some round trip.
no, just instead of trying to keep our shift changes the way they are, like I said, we'll probably only put our electric out during peak times so that we aren't worried, and we'll do shift changes around that instead of around the schedule. So it's more of a behind the scenes for us in how we send operators out. Sam's schedule won't change. Just the driver's schedule behind the scenes.
Because our electric bus, I mean, our gas buses start working now, will be part by law.
I don't see that happening in the very near future, and some routes can't. I mean, Mountain Express, for example, I can't imagine being an electric bus in the next 10 years. So I don't think we'll be required. What I do think will happen is it will be hard to get grant funding. You'll have to, it'll be like, here's the pot for diesel buses, and here's the pot for alternate fuel is what will happen.
So you have to have a really good reason to.
Yeah.
Request grant money for.
That's what I think will happen.
How about
hydrogen extremely flammable, so in an accident, the bus can blow up?
It is extremely flammable, but I believe that they are currently safe. And what I mean by that is they're running hydrogen fuel buses and have been for many years already. So, and we aren't hearing about it on the news that, you know, the bus blew up. So, but it's possible. I mean, obviously the buses are built and your fueling has to be built to make sure things like that don't happen, because yes, it is. I could eat this rice for days. I didn't even try the white. Did anybody try the white?
Yeah, it's not just plain white.
Oh, really? Okay. Really? Okay, I'm gonna have to get some.
What about the local buses that they go around town? Are we going to go electric with them? Because it seems like they would be easy to go electric with.
They won't get the range and they're very expensive. So when we bought these Ford Transit, we asked them to tell us how give us a quote on the bus and give us a quote for making it electric. And it was, what did we pay for those? It was 100 and something for the vehicle. Maybe it was 96 for the vehicle. 96 and another 118,000 to make it electric. Because they basically take that vehicle and convert it, just like they do ADA. Now, I've heard that it's gotten better and it's not that expensive. But then Muna and I went to a conference and saw the cutest little blue bus that would have been so perfect for us. It was so, and was it like that BMW or something like that? Something crazy. And then we contacted them. It was like $186,000 and it would only last like 5 years. And it had like no range. It was cute. It was so cute. Right? So that's what I mean by like the technology for those just isn't there because the batteries are so heavy. They can't get enough battery on the vehicle to have like a really good range or a life to the vehicle. So, yeah.
How about driver training? Is there anything that's going to be required?
So the workforce development piece where we had to say that we'll spend $107,000 of that grant money on workforce development. I was talking to Proterra and I'm like, how in the world am I going to spend $107,000? Like, to me, that's a lot of money. And they said, oh, we have packages for that. So you can, depending on the price, they'll send trainers out for the drivers and then send them out again, you know, after a certain amount of time to be sure that the drivers understand. Because that is another thing that will affect your range. If you have a driver that does not drive an electric bus in a certain way, you're not going to have the same range. You know, if they're out there like touring it or whatever, they need to pay attention to how they're driving it. So there's a lot of training to that. There's a lot of maintenance training. There's going to be training for us here. Yeah. So that was hopefully covered by that grant. Otherwise, I'd be worried about it.
I understand that the electric is not quieter.
So quiet. So when I toured the factory, I got lucky and I forgot where was picking up their bus. And so they were doing the inspection. So we got to ride along with their inspection ride along test. And it was very quiet, very quiet. As a matter of fact, during the sound part, they had to turn off the air conditioning to see, because the air conditioning was louder than the bus. And you know, they did all the brake testing and all of that good stuff, which was really fun. I'd never done that before. It's just like a bus on the inside. I mean, it's a bus. Very nice bus, but it's a bus. It's just a very quiet bus. All right, so I'm gonna move this on. I think we're gonna talk about this a lot for a while.
I wondered how our ridership was moving.
And here's our ridership. So, boy, you can't see 2021. I wonder if I can change the color. I bet it must be blue. So this is 2022. Yeah, 2021 was actually just slightly better. I think they're going to come out in the wash, but I would like to see. So what I'd like to see, obviously, is us going like this. I'm not seeing that. So we're at about 60% of our ridership pre-COVID. So in 2019, we had a great year. And in 2020, before COVID hit, it was way up here the first 2 months. Up here. So here's 2019, great year, right? 12,000 a month in November. And then 2020 started even higher, way higher in February. And then, so we are, we are coming back, but not as much as I'd like to see. So our fixed routes are down 40% on average for 2022. Dan Rides is down 45%, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Shoppers down 35%, and Estacada is down 31%.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know this is not the best thing to say, but we taken into consideration maybe those who have passed on from getting COVID and no longer here, people who have moved, so their house got out, whatever, you know, the all those different demographics of, I'm just throwing this out there. Like there's hundreds right now on the market of houses in Tammy. So I'm not saying that those people are gone, but from 19,
Right.
beginning of 20 to today in the last 2 years, all of those who have, again, passed on, or better yet, where school was at home for a year or so, and you don't have as many going in and out.
That's what I think. I think you're right on that. The city has continued to grow. So as far as people moving out, I would say new ones are moving in. But Diamond Ride,
See, that's my question. Those new ones
may not know.
may not use the bus system like the previous maybe person did. So yes, now we still have residents, but they have their own cars or they work somewhere else and they don't use the bus system at all.
And that's what I think is happening. I think doctor's appointments, I know most of you in this room probably have experienced this. It's really hard to get the doctor now. They will try to do Zoom for you if they can, if it's something that they feel like they need to see. It takes 3 months, takes a long time to get in the doctors. They are having shortages just like everybody else. So I think things are done differently now, right? I think people are found ways to work from home. So you've got telecommuting happening. I think there's a lot of changes that we as a group are going to have to figure out what they are and how best to serve our population. And that might look different in the future. Like we may take Sam Gresham, which is that's 80% of our ridership typically. And I don't really want to mess with Sam because it's 80%, but maybe it runs hourly from 5:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and then goes back to the half hour when it's peak. And then at night it runs hourly again. We might want to start, maybe we need more micro transit. Maybe we need more of if I'm an app and you come and get me. I think we're going to have to see some shifts and it won't just happen like it's happened before. Or maybe the shuttles that we run like Estacada, Maybe you have to actually tell our app that you want a ride, or we don't send a bus out. But this is not terrible ridership. I just would expect with gas prices the way they are, et cetera, that it would be higher than this. But the fact that it's our demand response that's not coming back as quickly, and part of that is also we have a driver shortage, so we can't send that second driver out when we get really full. And as you guys know, you call, as you know especially, you call 2 or 3 times and we can't get you in the schedule, you quit calling. So we have done some things in-house to try and turn that around. I'm sure you guys have seen, like, we sent the trolley on the farmer's market. And that was this, we took Sam rides. That driver, we set aside an hour and would send it out in case people needed rides. Or we've done, we put birthday parties on the Star Ride, Sam Ride schedule. And we'll pick groups of people up, like in a church parking lot, and drive them all to the birthday location in town. Again, so we're trying to figure out ways to introduce ourselves to that new population and get that ridership back. And sometimes it's going to look different than we're used to it looking. Also, we are advertising. And that is in our transit master plan. Marketing is in our plan. So, you know, we've kind of beefed up our marketing. We've never marketed before. We didn't have to. And so we've never really had a big budget for marketing, but we have a little bit. So, so we bought ads from the Sandy Post, and yeah.
I have a question on your marketing. Did you ever think about, I know that Sandy Transit has its own Facebook page, but
We don't actually.
oh, you don't?
No,
Okay.
we did, but we don't.
Okay, so my question is, a lot of community members rely on like Sandy information or Sandy Neighborhood Watch or Sandy this, Sandy that. Yeah, what's happening in Sandy, WTF or WTF Sandy, right? Okay, a lot of people really hone into that social media to get that advertisement that you're talking about to bring awareness. That if you could somehow, like, once a week, get something posted on there, talk to the admin, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, and be like, can we please run this once a week? Just so that people start seeing it, get it in in front of their face. I'm just gonna say it's the fastest way to really get people's attention.
So we put a lot of information on Facebook.
It's typically updates that people need to know, right? Like, this event's coming up, take Sam, or
We canceled a ride tonight because somebody called in sick or whatever, but so the city is very adamant that we all operate as one. And I agree with them. And it's because, and they recently let the police department have their own. The library, the Friends of the Library, which is a nonprofit that supports the library, they have a Facebook page, but not the library. And the reason is because all the departments post on the same, the city for its size has like 7,000 followers, which for a city of our size is outstanding. But it's because there's only one place to go, rather than, well, I only want to follow transit, so I'll go to theirs. I only want to follow the police, so I'll go to theirs, or I want to. So the city tries to keep it in one, but I hear what you're saying.
Is there a city page that people follow?
oh yeah.
And typically when we post something,
Wait, you're right. I have seen the city of Sandy, yes.
when we post,
I've never-
it sometimes gets then repeated or shared onto the others. I will tell you that to date, we stay away from the others because there is a contingent population on those that just want to complain. And no matter what I say, I'm just spinning my wheels.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, do I want to spend, how much staff time do we want to spend addressing comments on 5 Facebook pages? And
You look at like the Mountain fan page, Mountain Express fan page.
yeah, that's true. They have a
So
fan page.
look at that page, it is just.
I guess I'm not explaining what I'm trying to say.
No,
I'm saying a snapshot of,
Yeah.
hey, did you know City of Sandy has trolleys that take you on chopper shuttles? I mean, not something that somebody could like basically complain to you about. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or do you think that they would still do those types of things? All right. I'm just saying, I am on the City of Sandy as well, but I rarely, if at all, see things about transit. I see things about Sandy Police Department, the library. The city will talk about the sidewalks that were being redone. I mean, very minuscule, meaning there's not enough posts to bring it up.
Do you know what to date the most popular post interacted with for the city of Sandy is?
To date,
To date, the most interacted post.
good posts or bad posts? Okay, well, because a bad post, there can be interactive too, so,
It's when we did the birthday party, our first birthday party with the trolley.
Mm.
Wow, we said, thank you for being letting us be part of the party. It's the most interactive post, and it was immediate, like people like, what, this? You know, one was like, I asked you to do that years ago, and you said no, but everybody else was like,
I think that if we just give it a little bit more time, I think a lot of people are waiting to use the service to see whether or not we're gonna have a resurgence of COVID. And I think that once things start evening out with it, more people are going to go back to their office because you're just not as efficient usually.
That's actually not true. They actually found that contrary to what corporations were still resistant for historically, forever, to allow people to telecommute. That was the big fear of the reason, was that, oh, they're just gonna mess around in their pajamas and watch TV and this and that. And they've actually found repeatedly over and over the efficiency of telecommuters. Folks working from home.
I don't think that's true with some fields. I don't think it's true with all of them. And I do feel that we will, especially with gas prices being so high, we will start picking up more ridership as we get out of the COVID pandemic mode.
Yeah, but, yeah, that's when that's gonna happen. Like, cases are already.
I think unless we have a balance shift this winter, that things should be better by spring. I really do.
so one thing that I definitely think we're probably gonna look into, because we've had several requests, and it's what you're getting at, I think, is van pools. So, you know, a lot of us can work from home, but the nurseries, their staff can't work from home. And so we have had several phone calls from nurseries around when gas was high, because they could find somebody that lived in Gresham and could come out here and work, but they had to take the bus. And then how do you take the bus out to, you know, Evergreen or whatever? So one of the things that we probably need to look at adding, I'm not gonna say shifting to necessarily, but definitely adding, is how we get people from the SAM route out to businesses that do still need people, you know, the industrial section of town, et cetera. Yeah, so that is probably what we'll need to do to address those people going back to work. Carpools, yep, or van shares and Kim Curry would be happy to help us.
You know who that is.
I'm dripping too. Okay. I'm gonna give Christina's, because we're almost done. I'm gonna give Christina's update as well. So this is Mount Hood Express. Actually, is it Mount Hood Express? It's probably Mount Hood Express and Village Shuttle. So she says August showed, and she does fiscal year. So here's August of 2023, but I'm assuming she means 22. Oh, fiscal year 23. August showed increased ridership numbers, but it's still not returned to pre-COVID ridership levels. Right now, fiscal year 23 numbers are showing that they will generally fall between the lowest ridership numbers during COVID and fiscal year 19. The weather continues to be nice, which should help provide strong ridership during September and October before hitting the winter recreation center season. And we all know what happens then, right?
No, I don't run around or nothing, I have no idea.
Yeah, well, yeah. New drivers are on board and we're back. So they did take a hit. They have not run a Village Shuttle route for what, Nancy, like 4 months. They didn't run it, 5 probably even. So we have a driver out on medical leave. That's a Mount Hood Express driver. And due to shift changes and the winter schedule changing, a shift did not get covered. A little like part-time couple of runs. Dispatch runs out and covers the ones in town because they're short, but you can't go run theirs. So sometimes we would shift drivers off of Village Shuttle onto Mount Hood Express and send someone else for Village Shuttle. It's been pretty interesting. But anyway, let's hope going into winter we have more drivers, because winter is always a mess. So she says she's hoping to hear from, and I'm just also going to point out that this is fiscal year 22. So here's their 2019, right? Which I was saying ours was exceptional. Here's theirs, and you see that, just like ours, here's 22. So we have a SLAP application in. SLAP, as you know, covers 4 hours on Saturday mornings, all of Sundays for us. We have not had SLAP funding for a while. The feds just kept putting back the applications, and they put back the announcements. They did have us resubmit our applications at one point because the legislators on the Hill in Washington, D.C. did waive match for SLAP. So we had to put the applications back in for funding without having to put a match and be funded at 100%, which would be amazing. So we still don't know if we have SLAP funding. We haven't had SLAP funding we got some funding. Hood River gave us some of their funding because they didn't use it. And then that ran out for April or May. And we're not expected, even once they announce, if they announce this month, which we hope they will, it's not expected that we will get funding through SLAP, even if we're awarded it for another year. So the state is trying to find us funding. It's funny how they magically find funding. Anyway, so the state did call both the county and us when they heard that to say, are you guys going to need funding so that you don't have to stop putting that service out? And we of course said yes. So she goes on to say, if we receive the FLAP grant, that will allow us to continue to operate as normal and potentially work with Sam to expand and interline some of our service. So we do have added Estacada service in our FLAP ask. And we plan to interline the Village Shuttle with Estacada. So Estacada would have 7 runs instead of 5. And that bus would just continue and then go run Village Shuttle and then come back. Estacada again, and so forth. So we both, I think I would add 2 runs to Estacada and they would add 3 village shuttle runs. I'm looking at Muna, do you remember?
I thought we were adding meals together.
Maybe we are. I don't remember. So then she goes on to say, continued strong ridership and growth may also allow Clackamas County to collect additional $5311, which will help sustain operations with the rapidly increasing costs. And there is some talk by the powers that be in reworking the factors and how they allocate 5311 funding. And if they do that, Mount Hood Express will see more funding through 5311. So just a quick recap of that. 5311 for a long time had a cap that no matter how much you grew, you could only get 10% more funding. And that really hurt the smaller agencies like Mount Hood Express, who exploded, right, when they expanded, but they could only incrementally get 10% more. So the talk is, especially with costs being what they are now, that agencies will get a base. Right now that base is 100,000, I think. And so they're thinking of increasing that to 200,000 or 300,000 as a base, which would go a long way for them. We get a lot of 5311 already. And we're done. So one of the things that I was going to talk about tonight, and I will save it for another time, is we are blowing through our transit master plan, like at warp speed. So I just got all red because I get so excited that I get goosebumps. Anyway, so I am going to go through it a little bit because I have to. So the most popular thing that was wanted by our stakeholders in the community, if Sam were to get more money, is the shopper shuttle on Saturdays. We're going to do that in July. We already changed the bus stop at Kelly. We'll add Vista Loops when we can, but that's probably two more years out. Clarify ADA information we've already done, and that's for our Sam rides. Get electric buses, which has a big section about when you can afford it. We've got 3 coming. As far as regional services, people wanted more Saturdays and Sundays, more night and mornings. If you remember, we had the conversation about whether or not to branch off sometimes to Mount Hood Community College. It wasn't a very popular option. We probably won't do it. Anyway, add service to Estacada was on the transit master plan. It was also in the Clackamas County development plan. Mount Hood and Gorge connections is already happening. We're already interlining with Estacada, hopefully to make that village shuttle connection. The Gorge, Hood River now has a route coming into government camp. So the loop is closing. The county is building a transit hub somewhere around government camp. That planning process has already started. And we sit on that committee. New Clackamas County Express was very popular among our stakeholders and the public, and it will run through Boring to kind of give them a lifeline. We have it in to TriMet to get funding through STIF. We should hear October something if that's approved. I think it will be. So it'll be funded through STIF and will come with a vehicle, and we'll start it in July. Told us to get new dispatch technology for Sam rides, which we already did. There's a lot of street improvements. The administrative building and equipment was recommended. We got our plan to start building for all of this. On vehicle equipment and technology is in our plan. We've already gone through the RFQ process, chosen a vendor, and it's getting, one of these days it'll be put on the bus. They're having some supply issues, but we're ready. As I said, dispatch software we've already done. Internal practices, we're already doing vision around the mountain. Update branding and marketing. This is one of the reasons we're now Sam Rides instead of Star to help pull it into our fleet. Discuss routes. Oh, at some point I want to have a discussion. They mentioned in our master plan that instead of our routes being to somewhere else, which we call it Sam Gresham, we might want to think about calling it the 26 Express, 211 Express, so that you don't give the, you know, that the route goes to Gresham. Because it doesn't, it also goes to Sandy, right? So that's probably a workshop that we need to have to discuss if we want to stop calling it the Sam Estacada and the Sam Gresham, and give it more road names. So website organization, we already went through a process with the county. We partnered with all of our Clackamas County providers, including the county. We were successful in getting an STF discretionary grant. And today was our first kickoff meeting. We've already been through the RFQ process. We're getting a one-stop shop, all of us together website with a trip planner on it, how to move around in the county. Surveying, it mentions that we should, when we should always survey and we should pay people to survey, which we're doing starting October 12th, 8th. Spanish language operations, we have a multi-language line now. This is happening and I'm sitting on that committee. This is happening and I'm sitting on that committee. This already happened. You already know our partnership with these guys and that we're trying to move it forward. One of the things that we've done with marketing is we hired Brittany Allen, who is with the Post. She has a side business that's photography. We hired her to come out and take pictures, sexy pictures of buses, so that we have them in stock. And then we also are slowly trying to have some stock photos of drivers that we can post online. Like that one.
So good.
Yeah. The end. And Chair, can I call this meeting adjourned?
I move. Turn the meeting. Yeah.